Hello, welcome to the MLS portion of your new member orientation training. My name is Mike Murphy. I'll be your host today. I'm the Four Rivers MLS Operations Officer, as well as the Central Texas MLS Chief Operations Officer. And today we'll be going over Matrix and some of the most common violations, as well as many of the need to have apps that you should download and have in your repertoire in your phone. So with that, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So Central Texas MLS, a lot of people are like, what does that cover and where is it at? So we have in our corporation, we have 5 shareholder owners, all equal partners. Four Rivers was the originator of the regional MLS. So Four Rivers is one of the owners. Victoria Area Association is also an owner. 5 Points, formerly known as Williamson County. Temple Belton Board, as well as Fort Hood. And you can see each of the areas that we cover here. So you've got Fort Hood up in these territories and these counties. Bell County and Milam County are covered by Temple Belton. Then you have Williamson County and Bastrop. This is Four Rivers area, immediate area. And then the green out here going out to the coast is covered by Victoria. Now, the beautiful thing is that with your subscription and your membership, once you go into Matrix for Central Texas MLS, you can search or take listings, enter listings in any of these areas. So you get access to the entire region. So I don't like to end on a bad note, so I'm going to start on a bad note. So let's go over some of the most common violations that in an interesting way might save you some money. So without getting violations. So first, let's start with branded or copied photos. So any idea what branded or copied photos means or is relating to? Some of these are obvious, copied photos, obviously, right? You can't or you're not allowed to copy photos from another listing or another list agent, especially from another brokerage within the MLS. So without written permission, if you get written permission from the broker, then in that case, they will allow you to use their photos. But aside from it just not being cool to copy someone else's photos, you should have your own photographer and your own photos in the system. So a lot of times, if you're going to take a listing, say you take a $1.5 million listing, you're not going to necessarily use your iPhone to make photos for that listing, right? You're going to pay money out of your pocket or your broker's pocket to go have a photographer go out and take professional photos of the listings. And so when they do this, this is costing you money. And for the same reason why you have to front some money to get professional photos, other agents have done the same thing, and you shouldn't copy their photos out of the system. So now branded photos, there's all kinds of different branding that I'm referring to on there. One sort of branding is that when you upload those photos into the MLS, each MLS, especially in our immediate area, they watermark the photos. So you'll see a little Central Texas MLS watermark in the bottom corner of the photo. If you happen to belong to San Antonio, for instance, or Houston or Austin as well, they also watermark and brand their photos as well. So once you upload photos and all the information you put into the MLS, it becomes the property of the MLS. And so if you're going to upload a listing into multiple different markets to get the most exposure, if you happen to belong to multiple markets, then what you would do is you'd take your original photos and upload them into Central Texas MLS, and then take your original photos and upload them into any of those other, MLSs that you belong to. So, but in addition to watermarks, there's all kinds of other branding that you have to be taken into consideration and conscious of. Some of that can be your face, right? A lot of times there's billboards or other types of marketing that we do on our cards where we have our smiling face. Sometimes we have our logo of our firms either on our shirts, on our hats, sign in the yard. Those are all big no-nos when you're uploading photos of your listing into the MLS. So you just want to be sure that you have at least one curbside photo in the MLS and that you're not adding any other additional types of branding or what have you. There was one instance once upon a time where a lady had called and she was debating the logo and debating the fact that she didn't have a branded photo in the system. And her reasoning was that wasn't even her photo or her brokerage's sign in the yard. It was someone else's, and that doesn't matter. You don't want to upload any photos with any types of branding in the system. So the next big or most common violation that I see in the MLS are that the listings are not mapped properly. And a lot of times when we run into this situation, it's not necessarily the intention of the agent. It happens a lot, believe it or not. But you have to be sure that if the computer doesn't know where your listing is located and it doesn't map it properly, that when you're doing listing input, you go back and you verify that that listing was mapped indeed in the right location. No one knows better than yourself of where that listing belongs. The reason this happens a lot in our area is because we're growing at such an exponential rate that the Google Maps and the Bings and all these mapping programs of the world can't keep up with all the new street names and all the new areas that we have. So as a result, when you go to put this listing in the system, say it's 123 Main Street in my town, USA, and it doesn't know where the system doesn't know where that's at, then if it doesn't know where 123 Main Street is, then it's going to go to the next best thing that it does know, and that would be the zip code. So in the area of New Braunfels, for example, it'll put a map pin automatically and place it right in the dead center of 78130, for instance. And so that happens to be the gazebo that's listed and is right in front of the courthouse. And you'd be surprised how many listings we see that are marked as 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And we know it's not 3-bedroom, 2-bath right at that location because there's a gazebo you can see right through. So the fix for that is very easy. First of all, for any of these violations, if you have questions, I encourage you to call the board office, call the MLS, and we'll be happy to walk you through how to fix it. So the fix for something like this would be to go back and to edit the listing. And there's a hyperlink on the listing that says manually place or get lat long from address. And so right next to that, there's another one that's manually place pin, and you can click the manual button and it'll open up another window, and then you'll be able to left click and drag and put the pin exactly where it's supposed to be. And then you can save that, and then you submit your listing and you'll be good to go. So again, double check these. This happens most commonly in new subdivision areas or if you're mapping land, in the outskirts areas or fringe areas if somebody happens to be subdividing a property. So the next issue or next common problem is the not reporting of sold. And so when you put a listing, take a listing, and you're a member of the MLS, you need to put it into Central Texas MLS first. And what happens a lot of times is that some agents may or may not be on top of their listings, and they aren't updating them as frequently as they should. So this doesn't happen very often. I see this most often if you're a member of multiple MLSs and you have that listing in different MLSs located in there. And you happen to, say, for instance, you're in San Antonio and you have your listing in San Antonio as well as Central Texas. You might update the status in one MLS and then forget to update the status in the other MLS. And so what happens is that in Central Texas MLS, we look for the expiration date of your listing agreement. And if you haven't updated the listing and it expires, there's an auto expire process that runs at midnight every night. And that will take your listing. If it sees, hey, today your listing contract expired and you didn't extend that out or get an addendum, then it's going to auto expire that listing. And when it auto expires the listing, it changes the status from the listing from active to expired. And then what happens is that the system also goes out and it looks at the public records data. And so we double check in Realist, which is updated from our local county appraisal districts. And what happens is that the listing will go in or the system will go and it will check against the tax records. Now, listing late reportings of sold or sales or not reporting the sales can show up sometimes a month or 2 months later, right? Because the county appraisal districts are a little slow on updating some of these deeds and warranty deeds and stuff when they get recorded. So when that happens, it'll go back into the system and say, oh, hey, Mike put this listing in 2 months ago and the status of his listing is expired and this property really sold and we don't have the sold data. So it's going to send you an automatic violation and you're going to end up having to go to a class or pay the violation and also put the information, contact us to put the information into the MLS. So the whole premise of all of these is to keep the most accurate data possible into the system. So that's the purpose of a lot of this. The next one, IDX websites and listing agent contact information and remarks, specifically public remarks. There are a couple instances where you can put your a list agent contact information in the agent remarks. That would be the instance of where you'd have a subdivision and you can't just go show properties throughout the subdivision without checking in or contacting the on-site agent first to let them know you're going to be there or to schedule a showing. That's the only exception. Outside of that, you never want to put your contact information or your broker's contact information in any of the public remarks into the system. And the reason is because this listing, once you enter it into the MLS, it gets syndicated. So what that means is that there's a mechanism behind the scenes that takes your listing and will send it out to the Zillows of the world and the homes.com and the realtors.com and Redfin and all the brokerage Compass and all the other brokerage sites. But it's basically what transmits your listing out into the internet so that everybody can find it and direct buyers to you. So you don't want to put your contact information directly in there because it would also, again, it comes back to, just wouldn't be cool. It's not good business practice to have your contact information in there. So if you go to, or if the public goes to my brokerage site that I've spent money on and I'm showing your listings on my brokerage site, but it's got your contact information, then there's no reason for the public or for those buyers to use me. They could just contact you direct and you could potentially double in the listing. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but when I'm fronting the money for my website, I don't want to display your contact information. So that's against the IDX rules. IDX is an old school term that goes back about 20 years or so. It stands for Internet Data Exchange. And again, that has to do with the syndication, but it's the mechanism that takes your listing from the MLS and sends it out to all the public portals. Last one of these in the group is the title company and remarks. So this is a violation because about 4.5 years ago, about 4.5 years ago, we saw a huge uptick in title fraud that was happening. And what was going on is that a lot of these wrongdoers would phish and spam all of your clients, and they would go through and they would capture the email addresses of your closings and of your sellers and or your buyers. And so what would happen is that when you're getting close to, they would estimate out about when the closing time should be generally, average closing time. And then they would go through and start sending emails to your buyers saying, hey, we're a couple days from closing. You need to transfer your life savings, your deposit into this account. But I know you received title company or title instructions prior to this, but this account's no longer valid. Please wire it to this other account instead. And as it turns out, it's offshore account or something like that. And I know this sounds really sketchy and you're like, how can somebody fall for that? These wrongdoers are getting very sophisticated in how they're phishing and spamming and capturing this information from buyers and from other companies. So they'll monitor emails. They know about the time that the closing is expected. And then they will capture like your signature page, your logos, your everything, and they'll reframe their own emails and change the account numbers to one of their account numbers and send that out to your buyer. So it looks just like it. I closed on a house late last year, and even going through a national builder that I went through, some of the emails that were legitimate, as it turns out, didn't look 100% legitimate, or I couldn't tell if it was a spam or phishing attack or not. So what I did, and which is good practice to tell your buyers, is to be sure that if anything has to do with money or the transfer of money, to pick up the phone and voice verify it first. Say, hey, Mike, did you send me this email for to go ahead and wire the funds to this particular account, ABC123, or not? And so it's a good practice to go ahead and do that. Make sure that you educate your buyers on doing so. Again, if it has to do with finances or transfer of money, make sure they learn to voice verify that stuff first, especially on important transactions like we have with this. Stage photos. Can we put stage photos in the MLS? Sure you can. We did last year, or somewhat recently, change the rule to where if you're going to add stage photos, we want to see before and after pictures. So that way it represents the true condition of the property before and or after. We were having some very well done stage photos to where you couldn't tell the condition of the property, and people would go there, or they'd want to put an offer on the house plus all the furniture in there when the furniture didn't actually exist. But you want to be sure that if you're going to put in stage photos or modified photos of some sort, that they call it digitally enhanced photos, that you're going to enter in the before and after versions of those. And that way you people can see, for sure, 100%. Okay, this is what it looks like now. This is what it could look like when it's lived in. And that's always a good thing to do. We don't want to discourage anybody from doing that. But when you have somebody that's going to digitally enhance your photos, make sure that they're not misrepresenting the property. In other words, you can't put a wall or a doorway where there was no door, no wall or no doorway there. You also can't take a pool that is empty or has leaves and mud in the bottom of it and it's not being used and hasn't been used in quite a while, and you can't have your digitally enhanced photo show that it's crystal blue waters in the pool that's not there. So you have to be a little bit careful when you're digitally enhancing photos. But again, you can't add trees that aren't where there aren't trees. You can't add a wall or walkways when there's no walkways. So you don't want to misrepresent the property. You want it as accurate as possible. But you can do things like if the photographer goes out in the dead of winter to take pictures and their Bermuda grass is dormant and looks dead, you can have them make it green. You can go in, and if he happens to go out on a cloudy day where it's raining instead of a sunny day, he can put blue skies and a sunset or whatever he wants to do in the background. That's fine. In the pictures like I show here for the actual room, right? You can add TVs to the wall and couches and things like that. All right. And then in the photo comments, like it says here, be sure that you mention that, hey, this photo is staged, so that it's transparent for everybody. The report it button, I call this the tattletale button. So when you log in to Matrix and the MLS and you look at a property and you go to the one of the detail views, so like the agent detail, agent full, they call it, or the 360 property view. On the top of the page, and I'll show you right here in this next screen, the top of the page, you have this yellow exclamation point with the arrow. Well, this arrow's not there, but the exclamation point. And so sometimes and oftentimes the computer can't pick up everything that may or may not be wrong with the property. So say the status was not updated, or say it's the description's not accurate, or something's wrong with it, right? The directions aren't as accurate as they could be. Then what you can do is you can click on that yellow button, and then it's going to ask you a couple of questions. And I call this the telltale link because it tells me and it tells our compliance officer on the MLS side of things, hey, there's something wrong with this listing. You need to go research it and find out, and then get a hold of the agent or the broker to have them correct that. So I call it a semi-anonymous tattletale link, because on my side, I can see who the list agent is of the property and I know who reported it, but at no point in time are we ever going to tell on one or the other, right? Like I'm not going to say, hey, Mike, John Doe reported your listing as being bad, because even though this particular listing might have a problem with it, you might be in a transaction tomorrow with the same agent on a completely different property that's just fine. And we never, ever want to make things awkward in the transaction. The bottom line with all of these violations and all of these rules that we have is to make the most professional, up-to-date, quality data and best picture of representation of the property as we can in the system. And so if there's something you see that's not correct on this listing, you click on that yellow button, it'll take you to this screen right here. And this screen, you can put inside this, box, box right here, up to 4,000 different links or 4,000 different characters explaining what the problem is. So, and that tells me the listing number, the property address, and all that. So it gives me enough information to where we can go down and take a look at it. Now you're asking what kind of workflows we have? Hey, I'm glad you asked, because there's 3 different kinds of workflows of compliance issues that we have. And so we've got the first one, which is the minor offense. And the minor offense is a warning. And with that warning, we would like you to go in and need you to correct the action on there. So there's no actual fine associated with the first warning on this. It's just to update the information and update your listing. Once you get into there or you see this, by all means, if you're confused about it, then go ahead and contact the front desk or the MLS department, and they'll be more than happy to walk you through how to fix this. Because some of these emails or notifications that you get, they look a little scary, like a traffic ticket kind of, but especially in the minor offense, they just want you to correct the data. Now, what you don't want to do is you don't want to wait and not do anything about it or ignore it. So you want to call as soon as you can so we can get it updated. Because as you can see here, you have 72 hours after the first warning was sent to update the information in the listing. If you do not, then it goes to $100 fine. And then you're going to get another email saying you just received a fine for $100. And once that happens, then it's out of our hands. Then what you have to do is you'll have to file an appeal if you want it reversed or you think it's not, you don't deserve it. And then you're going to have to explain your situation in front of your peers, which are some of the, most active agents and brokers and stuff within the MLS. So, and they're first going to ask you is, okay, well, first of all, why didn't you call or correct this when you got the first warning? Because you did receive a warning. So the second workflow is a serious offense. These are automatic $100 fines. So with this, you can go and, pay it. Or now we have an option where you can take a class once every 12 months, once every 12 months. And when you take that class, then it's kind of like it's more fun and more informative than going to traffic school. But you can do this once every 12 months in lieu of paying the $100 fine. So listings or violations that fall into this category are like status updates, branded photos, or anything that has to do with like the IDX I was telling you about with the syndication. So what happens is that anything that goes out on the internet, as we know, it's really hard to pull it back. So these are automatic $100 fines because once they're out there, it's hard to get those vendors and stuff to update the data correctly, even if you correct it in the MLS. So sometimes it can be difficult to chase those down. Compliance workflow. Okay, this is the egregious offense. Out of all these, the fine for this could be $1,000 per offense. And the big one on this is sharing IDs or passwords. So you definitely never want to give anybody else your login or your password for the MLS. Everybody has to pay to play to get in. Even if you hire a transaction coordinator or you hire a personal assistant, they will have and should have their own login to get into the system. And then we can link those IDs together. And what you'll be able to do, or what that personal assistant will be able to do, is log in as themselves. And then they can click a drop down and say, hey, I want to work as Mike because I want to work on behalf of Mike to enter the listing or correct the listing or update the listing or change the photos or do whatever. So if you have a personal assistant or a transaction coordinator, make sure they have their own login. They're not using yours. I've got a system behind the scenes that shows me way more information than you'd ever want me to see about yourself. And so we track those, and it shows up on like a favorites list if there's so many violations. And there were some that I've had to call in the past where, they'd be like, well, I'm not sure my password. It's like, really? You really do have like 68 desktops and 13 laptops and, 65 phones. So I can see all that stuff. I can also see where you log in from, and it gives me velocity ratings too. So if you happen to log in say, for instance, New Braunfels, and then 15 minutes later you logged in from the Philippines, it shows me that, hey, you'd have to travel at 17,552 miles an hour to make that happen, which we know is impossible unless you're on the International Space Station. So don't do that. Bottom line is, don't share your password ever, please. And if you ever have questions about that, then let us know. If you ever want to work as a team, right? Each team member should have their own login, and there's ways that we can connect the team members together, just like we would do, like I was mentioning for the personal assistants. So you can go into the system and work as whomever. So, you and I can become a team. You can work as Mike, right, and correct my listings, or say you go on vacation, I want to work as you because we're a team together. Then I can go and log in as you with the drop down, and then correct your listings as well, or update them if you need me to. So it's a neat process. And then again, call the association. They can walk you through and show you how to set that up. If you're ever in doubt, first thing I'd prefer you to do is call the Four Rivers Association number and staff, and talk to Stephanie or somebody in the MLS department. They're more than willing to help you out. You can by all means call. I'd be more than willing to help you out. But Central Texas has our own compliance department, so you can email compliance@ctxmls.com, and you might want to write that down or take a picture, because if in doubt, this is the department that sends your compliance issue, your violation notification, and so you can respond back to them or send a separate email, even if you have questions on things. And like I see, in the third bullet point here, the fine waiver class is now offered. It's a 45-minute class. Once every 12 months, you're allowed to take it. We track, if you're in that class and able to or not. There are forms you could fill out to either take the class or appeal your violation. There's some other things on there, like a seller's opt-out form if your seller's requesting to withhold their name or information. So there's lots of forms. You can go to ctxmls.com for more information on that. So when you log into the MLS, this is the Clareity dashboard. So after you're authenticated in, then it brings you to this dashboard. And you see it's grouped by the MLS tools on the top. A lot of helpful resources and additional tools in the middle. And then from a class, just like a new member orientation, like we're doing here, someone suggested that, hey, I'm always going in and out of the county appraisal districts for our county to look up owner information for my listing and to see parcel information. And so it'd be really helpful to have those links on the main dashboard so that you can open those up as they apply when you're doing that. So we have those on here as well. So I'll go through a couple of these. So the first one on your list on the top left is probably the one you're going to use the most. That's Matrix MLS. So this guy right here. You also have a Realist, which is our tax vendor. Also with CoreLogic, you can also access Realist from within Matrix as well. And then there's a bunch of other resources here too. So when you log into Matrix, you're going to be presented with this screen, and you'll see you've got all your menu items up here, things to do. There's action items down below, and then these widgets you can move around. Click on Edit Dashboard. I'll show you that in a second. So, but each of these widgets, you can change the order of these any way you wish to see them, or you can even turn some of them off to make sure that you optimize your workflow as best as you can. So to edit the dashboard, for now, you're going to click Edit Dashboard, In a previous version of Matrix, you used to be able to left click on these widgets and you can drag and drop them. And in a future version of Matrix coming up, I think in the next version, so probably within the next 6 months, you'll be able to drag and drop those widgets again. They're going back to the old version of doing that. It was really handy to maneuver. So, but for right now, you can click on the edit dashboard button if that's available for you. You're presented with this screen, and this is kind of like how you do a playlist in like a, your music library. So the yellow button or the blue buttons on the left, you can turn these on and off to turn off the widget altogether if you don't need to see it. And then if you left click on these horizontal buttons and slide these up and down, you can change the order of the page. And that's going to show in the order of left to right, top to bottom, in that order. Okay. Help. If you're looking for help, the help tab's a great place to start. It's got a pretty robust amount of help in there. So you click the help menu item up on the top level there, and you're presented with this screen. And then you can type in what you want help with. So you type in like CMA or One Home or something, and you're going to get results that have all different kinds of formats in there, depending on the type of help. So some of them are like quick start guides, like PDFs. Others might be links out to videos on YouTube. Some other ones might be like a Word document. So, but by all means, utilize the help. It's got a lot of information and stuff in there for you. The Matrix Learning Center is the next most used application as far as help is concerned, other than the help tab. And this is really good. For a long time, we were asking CoreLogic to make nice and short, concise videos on each of the different types of products or features within the MLS. So, and they came up with the Matrix Learning Lab. So when you click on that, it'll open up into a separate window. And then you'll see something like this, like exploring learning resources. And we've got Matrix and MLS Touch, cybersecurity tips, Realist, One Home. And when you click on those, then it will take you into different types of videos and the details of those videos in there. But there's things like how to enter a listing, how to add contacts, how to do farming in Realist and send out print mailing labels, how your clients will use One Home and how to set that up. MLS Touch is our mobile app. Cybersecurity, there's a lot of, like I say, spam and phishing emails are going out there. There's also a lot of ransomware that's happening. And these are some really good security tips that you can go over. Aside from the obvious, right? Making sure that your Windows updates are done, making sure that your antivirus updates are done on a regular basis. That should be a part of your regular practice already. But there's also some additional things on there to prevent ransomware. So news and alerts, those are the pop-ups that I post out there. I try not to spam. So we try to keep these to a minimum if possible. And so your help and alert, when you first log in, it comes up with another window and you have options to either read now or see it later, or you can print them out if you like to print them out and keep a folder of them. So, but this is all generally, I try to keep these to either new features or emergency downtime or extended downtime things, or just an alert to information to let you know. So, like I said, I try not to spam. Try to keep these to a minimum, and only the most important stuff goes in here, because I know you're getting hit with emails and notifications via text and email and all kinds of other ways too. So we don't need to add to that. So these are important when I post them up. This is an example of one of those pop-ups. So this is classes. And it's also a good reminder that if you haven't registered for any classes on how to use Matrix, either the basic class or the advanced class with hotkeys and stuff, by all means, go on to the Four Rivers website or the CTXMLS.com website. You can look at the calendars there. and register for a class. Erica's classes are all CE credit. So when you're ready for your CE classes or credit, those will go towards that. Otherwise, it's great training. I promise you, you will definitely learn something. I have new agents that have never been in Matrix that go in there and learn stuff. I have agents and brokers that have been using the system for 15 years that say, wow, I didn't even know you could do that. So it's really, really good. She does a great job of this. Omni MLS is a brand new feature that we just recently added. Omni MLS, you'll see right here on the very far right. And when you click on that, it's going to take you here, and you might wonder, what the heck is this? This is a different matrix system. It's not Central Texas MLS. This is Omni MLS, and Omni specializes in properties, as you can see, in Mexico and Central and South America. So if you have buyers or sellers or clients that are interested in stuff in properties in Mexico, Central or South America, you'll be able to help them out. And conversely, if you fill out, all your agent information stuff within Matrix and all that, when they're looking for a property, then or you have a property here that they might be looking for, then they will refer and connect with you to also see some of those properties. So this is the same platform, so it looks slightly different, but it's the exact same platform as the current Matrix system we're using now. And so when you zoom in, this starts on a map search, and you can zoom in on the map and pick some properties depending on where you want to look. And when you finally drill down and open up a property or search an area and you pull up a listing, then what you're going to see is something like this, which is very similar to they call it the agent full. We call it the agent full also on a lot of ours, or the 360 property view. And so what this shows is it will tell you the address and the area and pictures and all the details of the property. Excuse me. But you also see they have local currency as well as US dollars. So depending on whichever country you're looking at, it's a pretty neat system. It's also trilingual. So it's you can view this website either in English, in Spanish, or in Portuguese if you like. Here's an example of that. Notice that all of the labels and menu items and things are all now in Portuguese in this case. I selected Portuguese. And so it's showing, except for the comments on the description here, but all of the labels and all the information, all the navigation buttons are all now in Portuguese. Rent Spree. Rent Spree is a new item that we've added. So you'll see it on the top, CTXMLS resources. This is on the dashboard when you first log in. And if you look for the blue button here, that's Rent Spree. And Rent Spree is an online tenant rental screening company. And so they give a really comprehensive rental history and background and credit check and all that stuff. And the price is $49.95. So if you're to go to their website direct, you'd have a dashboard where you log in here. You can request a screening. You can view your properties. You can see who's paid for their payments to pay for those and all that stuff for the screening. And they really do give you a super comprehensive screening and stuff of your clients on there. So this is an example of a TransUnion. And this scrolls forever, it seems. This is only like the first page because you wouldn't be able to read any of it with the font size if I had taken the whole thing. I think it was like 14 pages, but it's got a whole, like the credit score, the credit history, the rental history, current addresses, cars they own, all kinds of different things that are in there that can help you make an informed decision on potential renters coming in. This is usually for the property management, not necessarily for property management companies, although some of them do use Rent Spree. Most of them were used like the bigger guys, like the Appfolio or what have you. So if you happen to be have an investment property yourself, or you have a client who's got like one or two investment properties and all that, by all means, this is a great way to screen for potential tenants for them if you're not going to use like a more expensive enterprise solution to do this full time as a property manager. So it can help. It's great company. So everybody's touchy-feely and they want to know, hey, what apps have you got? What apps have you got? So these are a few of my favorites on here. You'll see we've got Showing Time, RPR, Supra, Zillow, Cubicasa, MLS Touch, Realtor.com, and Homes.com. And so MLS Touch is your matrix. So that's really your matrix mobile desktop is what I call it, because this is fully integrated into your matrix system on your phone. And so you can do changes on the fly. So if you wanted to do or needed to do a price change while you're out in the field, a status change while you're out in the field, you can do that with MLS Touch. All of your contacts that you put into Matrix on the desktop version will show up in MLS Touch. All of your clients, your contacts, your save searches, your listings, all of that stuff is fully integrated. Cubicasa's a floor plan. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. And then, of course, Realtor.com, RPR, that's Realtors Property Resources, a resource from the National Association of Realtors. Also allows national searches. Supra is your lockbox to access your lockbox, showing times, schedule showings. Zillow is a household name, as is becoming Homes.com. So now back to the MLS Touch. You can download that in the App Store or Google Play. And this is what it looks like. Look for this logo right here. It's MLS-Touch. And you'll use your MLS ID and password to log in. And one of the things that was really interesting when they were first promoting this was this Insta View button. And what they're telling us is that if you're showing one house and across the street your client wants to see the details of the other house, then you can point your phone at that other house and hit the Insta View. And if all that information's in the MLS, it'll pull that information into your desktop version. So you'll see it right away. You don't have to search it or do anything real crazy. You just push a button and go. And it actually works. I was very surprised. I was doubting the technology of it, just pointing the phone and pushing the button. I was like, there's no way. But it does work. And it's very handy too. So that's kind of a neat feature on MLS Touch too. There's no charge for any of these apps. These are all included. They're all free. It's part of the service that we have for that. Cubicasa. So Cubicasa is a floor plan application. So you can download that app. Once you download the app, you can either sign on the desktop or you sign in on the app. But this uses the LiDAR on the newer phones, and it'll record and capture the dimensions of the house, the distance away, and then it builds a PDF floor plan that you can then use as like an additional photo and add that to your listing to make it more attractive, because a lot of clients like to see, hey, where's the master bedroom in relation to whatever? You know, is it upstairs? Is it downstairs? And so this works really, really, really well. And it's super accurate. I've used it here at the office before, and it was putting labels in offices and executive boardrooms that I know aren't on public records. So I'm not sure quite how it knew it, but it did. And it's very accurate. And it's such a great product that some of my property managers even came back to me and they're like, hey, I love this program. I've decided to add this as part of my turnover process for my property. So every time somebody moves out, then we want to go in there and we're going to take a Cubicasa snapshot of it and get a floor plan. And we're going to have floor plans of all of our properties that we're renting. And another use case that I thought was really interesting was that not too long ago, he had a flood in one. A pipe had burst, and the insurance company put the onus and the responsibility back on him, saying, well, we need you to go out and send us pictures of exactly where the flood was. So he was able to contact his person on site there without going out there. He had the floor plan already, so he was able to put an X of exactly where the pipe was broken into the property and the relationship of where it was in the house, and send that off to the insurance company. And he had that done in about 2 minutes instead of having to drive out and doing this on site. Really a handy feature and a great product. So when you log in, you'll see you'll get your dashboard. This is on their website version. And so if you're taking floor plans of properties that are 5,000 square feet or below. That includes the doghouse and whatever else you scan on the scan. Then there's no charge for the floor plan. If it's over 5,000 square feet, then there's like a nominal charge. I believe it's about $10 or so. And so if you need it within shorter than a shorter time frame than 24 hours, I think they have a expedited like 6 hour turnaround time where that's an additional $10 charge if you need it. And then there's like an enhanced version that appraisers can use. That would be an additional charge. But the basic floor plan, just to get one out there, and that covers the majority of homes, general homes, is free for you to use. So, and it's super, super handy. So Realtor.com, just like Zillow and Homes, this is a public portal. They support realtors. They support our industry. A lot of people use Realtor.com to do their searches and properties. And what I would suggest is that for Realtor.com, for Zillow.com, Homes.com, all these public portals, you need to go in and you need to log in on each one of these and sign up. And you don't have to get the enhanced version of those or like the contact referral version of those, but you have a free profile on each one of these. But you do need to go in, upload your photo, upload and complete all of your bio information, your history, what your specialty is, and all of their questionnaires. Because if you don't, what happens is that when they get clients that come in and you have a listing and you didn't fill out your profile on each one of these websites, well, then they're going to give it to one of their preferred members instead. And so you want, especially for your own listings, you want the leads to go back to you. So go on to all these websites and make sure you claim your profiles on each one of them. RPR, Realtor Property Resource. So this one's a neat product. I find that it's underutilized. It's definitely not in the majority of people, of agents using this website. And you're probably thinking like, well, then, what's the point? When I start looking at who is using the website, it's actually the top 10% of our highest producing agents and brokers are using it. So I just think they're keeping it a secret to themselves. RPR has got some really neat displays, the flyers and the displays that are in matrix. I'm not crazy about. They're just kind of black and white. There's not a whole lot of flavor and color to them. But RPR has got good looking flyers that are appealing to the eye for you could use, and they have flyers that you could use. There's client details that you can print out that look really nice and professional. Their layouts are really pleasing to the eyes, like I was saying. But more importantly, this is also like a national database. So this, you'll need your NERDS ID login. So you might have to call the MLS department here to get that ID if you don't know what it is. But because it's with NAR, they pull all of the listings across the nation. And if you have somebody who's relocating from California or somewhere else out here, or New York out to Texas, or the other way around, then you'll be able to help them on both sides and at least direct them or search and find an agent in their local area wherever they're coming from or going to. So anyway, this will help out a lot. It's got a very comprehensive CMA. When we used to do classes on site, live, the CMA package that RPR, their instructors would go over, was an 8-hour class. Doesn't mean it's that hard to use. It means it can be that complex in what it can do. So it's a great application. It's paid for already with your NAR dues that when you join the local board here, those NAR dues paid for this. So there's no additional charge for you to use it. You just have to sign up and sign into it and go for it. So all of these products, I don't expect you to use every single one of these products necessarily, but I would hope that you would at least sign into them, claim your profiles, go in and learn how to use them, and then use the application that's best for you. Supra, whether you're listing a house or you have a buyer and you want to schedule a house, you're going to need the Supra app to either schedule a showing or assign lock boxes and stuff. So there's a lot of really cool, handy features in here. It's got the Bluetooth connectivity to the lockbox itself. It'll show your inventory. There's agent to agent messaging, super web. There's all kinds of neat products on this. And what I'll show you a little bit later is how to enable this alert feature right here. By default, that's not enabled, but safety is always a concern no matter where we're at. And this is a really, really good free safety feature that we can enable on here. So I'll show you that shortly. It's got a flashlight, since, you know, if it's at night or dark and you're trying to open up a lockbox, you can click this button and it'll turn on your phone light as you're trying to open the shackles or what have you. So, but one of the really neat features with the Supra is the fact that Four Rivers for 20 years has had a co-op with not only within CTX MLS. Let me take that back. Four Rivers has a co-op with CTXMLS. So all of the partners, if you have we're all on Supra. And so that regional map that I showed you in the very beginning of our presentation, if you're going to show houses in anywhere in that entire area, your Four Rivers key will open up lockboxes in that entire area in our region. So that's pretty handy. So all of the shareholders co-op together for that. Now, what I was referring to for the last 20 years is that Four Rivers has had a reciprocity agreement with San Antonio and Austin to open up their lockboxes as well. And that's something you only get with being a member here at Four Rivers. If you're a member of the other shareholders, they don't have the same agreement. Some of them do have agreements with one or the other, but I don't believe anybody else has got a agreement with both to open up those lockboxes. Such a really handy feature, freebie that comes with your membership here at the Four Rivers board. All right, showing time. So the showing service. So this app will allow you to schedule showings. You can delay showings. If you have a listing, you can put time block out. Hey, I want to show between this time and this time, but not between 12 and 1 because of lunch or whatever. And so they also import all of the listing data from the MLS into the system. You can search for, you know, your contacts and stuff on there. It's really, really neat. So Zillow, the Zillow app is a great feature on there. Zillow is a household name. Everybody pretty much uses Zillow these days for a lot of their searches on there. In this case, I'm not talking about Zillow as the brokerage, right? Because we know that they're a brokerage now, may or may not know. They are a brokerage. And so what I'm referring to in this slide, the next couple slides, is I'm talking about Zillow as a technology provider. And so previously working for vendors, I know that vendors will not enhance features unless they absolutely have to. And so Zillow, however, has been instrumental in pushing the industry forward, in particular with AI and with the recognition of photos. So one of the things that Zillow is one of the first at was doing things like looking at MLS photos and being able to identify that not only is this a kitchen or a bathroom or a living room, but they'll look at the kitchen and say, hey, I know what that logo is. That logo is the logo for Viking. So that's a Viking stove. Hey, that's a Sub-Zero refrigerator freezer. And they put all these metadata tags behind there so that when you go to search, that you'll be able to search and find things with those attributes. So that was a really good addition on Zillow's part to push the industry. And now here it is. This is probably 5 years ago that Zillow started doing this. And now it is about 5 years later. And we're getting ready to roll out here shortly new features within Matrix to where your clients on the One Home portal will be able to upload photos of a style of house that they like, or kitchen, or backyard. And then the system will search based on that style of house. So say they upload a ranch house with a great view or something like that, then it'll say, and you click the search button, then it's going to go out in the MLS and find all of the ranch style homes with beautiful views and send your client back that information on the fly. So they won't have to type in, oh, I want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, blah, 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 like the old boring searches that we're used to today. Pretty interesting. Zillow search, almost everything's got the map search on it now. So that's not anything real super special, but you can draw with your finger or zoom in on the map and do searches with certain criteria on almost every website. So, okay. And with that, that about wraps it up for me. So I wanted to show you one last thing, and this has to do with Supra. So when you log in, and you're going to want to write down, let me pull this up over here. It's this website right here. So it's supraweb.suprakim.com. This one right here. So supraweb.suprakim.com. When you log into this, it's going to direct you to their SSO portal, which that's what it was doing when I first clicked it. It comes here. Again, you're going to use your NERDS ID and your password. You can contact the front desk to find out information on that. But this is going to get us to where we want to enable the alerts button on there. So I click login, and you'll see your dashboard here. So there's two things in particular that we want to go over here. So here's the eKey alerts. That's to enable the alerts. But before I get to that, I just want to point out the authorization code. So authorization code comes in handy when you are at over a weekend and the association's closed for the weekend. And say you drop your phone, break your phone, or you have to exchange your phone for whatever reason, you go to AT&T or Verizon or wherever, mobile, and you get your phone and they give you a brand new phone. And you're like, okay, now I'm back in business. Well, the problem is your old phone was authorized for the Supra eKey authorization. So now you won't be able to open up lockboxes, even if you install the app on there. So what you'd have to do is reinstall the app on the new phone, log into supraweb.suprakim.com, click authorization code, and then it's going to automatically generate this authorization code that you can use for one-time authorization to authorize that phone, the new phone, and associate your login to that phone. So that's something really important to at least be aware of that you can do, because otherwise you're going to have to wait until Monday when the office opens up in order to do that. All right, now the next thing I was talking about, the eKey alerts. You're going to want to click on eKey alerts and click on enable service, because by default it's disabled. And then you're going to want to put your contacts in there. So in my case, I put in Ethan Hunt at that email address. And if he's not available, it'll send it to John Wick. And if he's not available, I didn't even put a third person in there because I'm just out of luck. So you could either put in their email address or you can put in a phone number, and you'll have to put in the phone number in this format. That's 10 digits, I believe, and then and then whatever mobile provider service it is. So if it's Sprint, T-Mobile, US Cellular, whatever, AT&T, put in a format like this on the back end here. Okay. And then you're going to put a message in there, something hopefully a little bit better than mine that says, hi, I'm with this client, this Mike Murphy guy's a creep. Please send tacos. You're probably going to say some brokerages use get the red file or help or something. And so what's neat about this, and then obviously you're going to click save. And so what's neat about this is that not only does it send this message, this lame message that I have to these contacts you put on there, but what it's going to do is it captures the latitude and longitude, like the geo coordinates of exactly where you're at. So if you're in the kitchen of 123 Main Street and my phone goes missing or offline and I don't answer it, or no one's able to get a hold of me, this is an email or a text message that you'll be able to forward to the authorities that contain the latitude and longitude of my last, the position of my last known position, basically. So the authorities will be able to use that to help maybe pinpoint quickly where I last was. And all that's going to do is that it re-enables after you save this. I believe it's about 30 minutes, 15 to 30 minutes for that light to enable. And so you might have to log out and log back in for it to happen. But on your eKey app, right, that little alert button, that'll enable that alert button. And then you can push that in case you happen to be on a showing and you're not feeling safe or something's going awry. You'll be able to push that button. It's incognito and it sends the information out right away. And it's something extra that will keep you safe. So, all righty. Excellent. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And good luck with your journey. Take care.